Hey everybody, it's been a while since I've made a video, but I just wanted to share a little bit of, um, I don't know, a little bit of stuff, but it's a topic that most of us don't talk about unless you're health oriented, and then it's not a big deal. But I would say the past few weeks or so, hold on a second, let me take a scoop of this. It's so good. I made some black beans here, and I just put them on the with water and cooked them with a little bit of salt. I didn't season them other than the salt. But today I was gonna refry them, but then I decided not to. I just sautéed some green pepper, a little bit of bell pepper, onion, garlic clove, some regular oregano. I don't think I put anything else on it. So it's very basic, very basic. Oh yeah, and a little jalapeno in there too. But one thing, and I cooked the beans like 2 days ago, I think. So I had them yesterday and this morning, I think. But it had been probably 3 months or so, maybe not that much, but I didn't have what I would call a regular bowel movement. They're okay. I go every day almost, but I didn't go regularly. And one of the things I noticed is that my diet had changed probably over the past month and a half, definitely since I've been away from, Mexico. And so it just, it's not like a big revelation or anything like that. But this fiber that we consume, we have to consume the fiber. We have to eat this stuff that nourishes our microbiome. And when I talk about the microbiome, I'm talking about our intestines. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around. I have no idea what I look like, but I'm going to turn this around so I can talk to you, okay? All right, so the microbiome is what's inside of our gut, okay? And I have to lower myself a little bit. The microbiome is what's inside our intestines, and it makes sense. And I've been reading a lot about the microbiome, and I've read about this for years and years and years, and it makes sense, that the organisms that are on this planet are primarily either insects or bacteria and fungi, those singular cell organisms. If you can call them singular cell. I'm not a biologist, I'm not a chemist, okay? So if I make some errors in what I'm saying, just comment on it later on. But we probably have a whole civilization of bacteria living in our intestines. And our intestines are similar to our brains, okay? So whatever we put into our brain, I have a really extraordinary wife as a human being. She's very positive. She's a beautiful person, deep inside. I admire her very much. But her positivity in her mind is similar to how I feel about the positivity of eating healthy. Does that make sense to you? Do you see the contrast or the correlation there? So I've increased my fiber content, like quadrupled it, maybe even more in the past couple of days, okay? Because I had noticed, and I even talked to her about it. I said, honey, I don't feel regular anymore. I mean, regular in the sense that we'll call it art, okay? The art that I am producing isn't really art anymore. It's not a nice sculpture. It's more like a Picasso, And Picassos are beautiful, but when you're looking in a toilet bowl, nothing's better. I mean, I know that I'm healthy when I go into the bathroom, and it takes me 15 seconds, and I'm done. It's like boom, it's gone. It's in the bowl, it's gone, and you clean yourself, and there's nothing on the paper, And I hadn't really experienced that in close to 3 months, And a lot of it has to do with stress, There are so many stressors. Now, I've had a very stressful few months with my mom. A lot of you know that my mom she just turned 92, by the way, okay? And she's a really good example she would be a really good case study. She talks to me about, back in the 70s, I remember she used to have a lot of problems with her digestion and she had aches and pains. I remember when I was about 12 or so, she was laying on the bed, or maybe she was sitting on the bed, and she couldn't move very comfortably, and she goes, Richie, can you massage my hip, And so I started, I think I just used my elbow or my forearm to just rub her hip. I imagine that she probably had some form of sciatica or something like that. And she appreciated that. And I remember that. And I remember her going to the doctor for various things, chiropractor and all sorts of stuff. And then she went to a Asian doctor, a Korean doctor, and the doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong with you is that you don't eat enough fiber, okay? Now, this is probably 1976, 77 or so, maybe 78. And she still talks about that today. And she, she's 92, so she repeats this as though it's something. Well, first, it's really, it must have, it's stuck in her mind for one, but two, what she's saying is truthful. It makes sense. The doctor said, I'm not going to put you on any medications. What you need is to stop eating the box stuff, the processed stuff. Not that my mom was eating the processed stuff, but the diet in Mexico, my parents migrated to the United States in 1967, and so their diet changed. And I see that when I travel, like I go from Mexico and I go to the United States and I might be there for 10 days. My diet in the United States is horrible. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. Okay. I do my best to eat healthy, but sometimes it's a little bit challenging. Okay. And I have friends that, don't have the best diets. And when I eat with them, I just eat what they're eating pretty much, and, I'm an addict, sweets addict, or I'm compulsive to eating sweets, if that's the right way to say it. I'm compulsive or obsessive or something. I don't know how to say it, but I have a sweet tooth, okay, and sometimes I'm not very disciplined, okay, but now I'm with my wife in another part of the world, and she eats very healthy in some ways, in other ways not so. But compared to what we eat in the United States, and the fact that she's an extraordinary cook, first of all, she's got really good talent. But what really is beneficial about the way she eats is the portion size. Her portion sizes are pretty good, and she serves pretty well balanced foods, okay? So I would say her diet is pretty good. It's pretty good. And however, the diet for one person is not always the best for the other person, okay? And a thought that came into my mind is that I'm 100% Mexican. And so my parents and grandparents, I would say for several hundred years, are probably indigenous native Mexican, okay? Aztec, whatever, okay? From the, or the various native Indians that were, I hate to say Indians, natives to the Americas, okay? And so we may have some Spanish or European blood in us and some African blood, like everybody pretty much has. But it occurred to me, I was like, wait a second. If genetically my heritage or my ancestors ate a certain diet, corn, peppers, beans, weeds, and probably little meat, then it probably makes sense for me to have a similar diet, okay? Now, the food that was being grown 200 years ago, 300 years ago is no way like the food that's being grown today. There's just no way. First of all, the soil has been completely contaminated. The water is not the same. The air is not the same. The processing is not the same, and the seeds are genetically modified now. So, but our bodies adapt. So the less stressors that we put on our body, stress is good in some way, okay? Stress is good in some way. That's how I'm getting these big guns, from stress. No, I'm kidding. I got little chicken wing arms. I started working out at the gym a little bit, weights, but I got a lot of work to do. Because I got to change this physique or try to transform it back to the way it's supposed to be. Genetically, I'm supposed to be around 148, 153 pounds. That's my bone structure. Okay, that's how I should be. And I look at some of the people in my mom's village that are my size, and they're 140 pounds and all sinewy. Now, sure, they have they work totally different. They work from sunrise to sundown, and they eat, very small amounts. That's work, and that's activity plus genetics and portion size. Now, the people I'm talking about are not the ones that drink a lot of beer and are eating a lot of carbs. These are more of the poorer people that still maintain a lifestyle of the way my parents and my grandparents did. Okay, and these people are in their 80s and they're in better shape. They look a lot better than I am, a lot tougher than I am. So, anyways, so my thought was that okay, so I'm eating these beans here. Okay, no tortillas. It's not a lot of beans. Portion size. This is a very small portion. This is about 3/4 of a cup or so. And that's all I'm going to eat. It's already got the vegetables in it, the onions, the peppers, and stuff like that. It doesn't have a lot of sodium. And I cook them myself. And I'll tell you what, yesterday when I ate these beans, it had been several weeks since I had cooked or eaten cooked beans. I may have had some canned beans recently, and they were good. I'm not going to deny it. They were good. They were smashed pinto beans, I think. But eating freshly cooked beans is a huge difference. The flavor, I didn't like them when I first got them off the stove. I was like, they tasted weird, like strange, okay? I wouldn't have served them to somebody else, unless I knew they were really, really hungry, because hunger is a great thing for food. It doesn't taste that bad when you're hungry, okay? If you don't like it or you put it aside, you're not that hungry, okay? You're not in need. I've been hungry before. I know what it feels like to go several days without food or real food, okay? Or not being able to eat cooked food, Occasionally I eat stuff frozen. Well, not frozen, but like cold right out of the refrigerator. I don't care. If I'm hungry, I'll eat it right away. And my girlfriend, or my wife, I call her my girlfriend because she'll always be my girlfriend because she's just gorgeous, sexy little chick. No, I shouldn't call her chick. She doesn't mind. She understands it. But anyways, so my mom and my grandparents, they really know what hunger is. I mean, they went through the Spanish influenza, the late 1800s, the Depression. They truly know what hunger is. So that's another thing. If I could just control my portion size and keep my fiber at a high level, I think I could probably kind of mirror my parents' and my grandparents' diet. Okay, very little meat, if any meat. There's a lot of meat eaters in my mom's village now, but that wasn't the case back in the day. We imagine that they ate a lot of meat, but they really didn't. Unless they were eating frogs, toads, and lizards, there really wasn't a lot of meat. First of all, there was no big agricultural farms like that in my mom's or parents' village. There just wasn't. I mean, people had maybe their own chickens for their own eggs. My grandparents did, but they didn't eat a lot of meat because they sold the cows or the goats or whatever they might have had to make money. But what they did eat every single day was a lot of fiber, a lot of beans, a lot of real corn, probably from ancient seeds, and a lot of nopales. Nopales is the cactus. So I haven't been able to get nopales here, and that's okay. But I do love them. I do love them. And I know the benefit of eating a high fiber diet. I look at myself 1 year ago and I was probably 8 pounds lighter. Okay. And I'm not going to show you my physique right now. You're seeing enough of it right now. And it's, that's enough. But I know what it was like when I changed my diet, when I stopped eating so many tortillas, when I gave up the processed cookies and the bread and the rice. The rice was probably one of the big things. And then after a year, about 9 to 10 months, I started to eat a little bit more rice here and there. Not that much, just a little bit. But what I started to consume again about 4 months ago was the tortillas. I was up to about 3 to 4 tortillas a day per meal. And that might have been okay in my grandparents' day, even 6 or 8 tortillas. But my grandparents were probably moving from like 6 o'clock in the morning till 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. I mean, constant movement, either, working in the yard, working in the garden, working in the fields, making stuff, doing stuff, walking up and down because they didn't have cars, So
I don't have a problem with not eating the tortillas. I don't even miss them. If you make something and it's tasty, you don't really need all those carbs. I know that one of the reasons I gained so much weight probably in the 90s is because I used to spend a lot of time with Italian people. Well, my girlfriend, one of them was Italian, I think. Or we used to go to Italian restaurants. It's no big deal, whatever. But one of the things was we would always eat a lot of bread. In fact, I would eat probably a whole or a half a baguette before the meal even got there. And then we would have pasta. I was up to 190 plus pounds, about 191, 92 at my heaviest. And that's awful. If I was 190 pounds now and I did about the same activity that I did then, I'm sure I would have had a heart attack by now. I'm sure I'd be dead. I'd be diabetic. I would have probably be on some kind of medication. And I'd probably be stressing about that more and more. Now, I am concerned about these things. I have some friends that I really love. They're important people to me. And I tried to guide them, not tell them what to do, guide them, suggest. I post stuff on Facebook. I share stuff because I want folks to really look at what they're consuming and make a educated decision about, hey, you are living for yourself, but there are other people that care about you, and they're gonna miss you if you're not here because you didn't take a couple of steps just to take care of your health. Then I don't know, that almost seems like it's a little bit selfish to me. And I'm slightly selfish about many things, and I think that we should consider that as part of what we do, because what we do affects other people. And I'm a health oriented person. I was in the medical field for many years. I learned a lot from many doctors. I read a lot. I read a lot now. I read a lot about different subjects, and I have some healthcare providers that I ask questions, and I read their postings too and stuff like that because they care about. They're good care providers. In fact, they are truly healthcare providers, and they know what it is to take care of people. Because most of the doctors now, or a lot of the doctors, even if they're good, they try to be good healthcare providers, or they want to be, the system isn't designed for them to really know you. In fact, if you go to the doctor, ask yourself, you have a sore throat, or you have a sore throat every 3 or 4 months, or you have a sinus infection every 2 or 3, 2 or 3 per year, or an ear infection. Your kids have ear infections every year, or you come down with strep every year. You got to ask yourself, why? Why? And why does the doctor not ask you about your home, your diet, your stress levels, what's going on in your family? They can't because they don't have the time for that. It's not like they have a relationship with you anymore. Many may want to, but that's not the way the healthcare system is designed anymore. It's designed for you to come in, tell them a problem, there's your symptoms. I have a pain in my ear, I have an itch in my eye, I have a drip in my nose, and they're going to ask you for how long, 3 days, and they're going to give you a medication. In fact, most of the times, they may not even make the suggestion about the medication. You might give them the suggestion. You might say, hey, I would like to take that medication I saw on television, the one for the itchy eyeballs or the runny nose or whatever. And they're happy to do that. They're happy to do that. They get you out of the office. 3 minutes, you're gone. Boom. Imagine that. Think about that. How long do you really spend with your healthcare provider? Now, I was at a healthcare provider, my healthcare provider. I'm a veteran, U.S. Army veteran, and I went to my healthcare provider, and I finally said something to her. I said, this physical is not over. You haven't even touched me. This is not a physical exam is they put their hands on you. They touch you. They palpate. They listen to your heart. They look in your ears. They look in your eyes. They should look in your throat. And she didn't do that. And she hadn't done that. And so I said, hey, look, you know what? I'm upset. I'm upset with you. I don't trust you. and I will say something. And I haven't gotten to it yet, but I will. I need to write something down. But time has been going by, and I've had other things on my mind. And I'm not saying that you're all the doctors, that you should be in there saying, hey, I Googled this and I Googled that and blah, 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 and you know more than they do. But if you don't feel right about your healthcare provider, you should say something. You should tell them, and they know that they need to ask you more questions. Usually it's a medical assistant or an LPN or some kind of health assistant that asks all the questions and blah, blah, blah. You get these forms before you go in. If you're going to a new provider, you're going to a new doctor or something, you fill out all these forms. You know what those forms are for? I could be wrong, but I don't think so, because I've been in the medical field for a long time. Those medical forms go to the insurance company so that they can later on, if you were to sue them for something, they could say, oh, no. You, in 1974, you were roller skating and you banged your knee up. Pre-existing condition. That's what that's for. That's my opinion, but I think that's also probably pretty factual. Hold on a second. So anyways, that shit is good. Oh my God, it's good. I want to call it like Cuban beans, but I hate putting names on stuff that I cook, because then people have an expectation of what it should be, and so that they really had Cuban beans from a Cuban mother, they're gonna say, I ain't Cuban beans. But to me, that's, I don't know, it's got a nice flavor. But anyways, so I wanted to make this video about the fiber mainly, and I just kind of say, folks, if you're not eating enough fiber, check your diet and check your really look at your garbage can. Okay. Look at your look at your garbage can and look at your pantry. If you're looking at your pantry and everything's in a box or in a can, and you're on 3, 4, 5, 6 medications, get rid of that stuff in the pantry. Get rid of it. A lot of folks think that it's more expensive to go buy real vegetables and real fruits and actually cook it yourself. But you know what's really expensive? Those doctor bills you're going to get when you're 40, 50, 60, 70. Those are really expensive, okay? I know that a lot of us are predisposed for these things genetically, and there are things that we really don't have a lot of control about. But don't be lazy, folks. Don't just say, oh, you know what? We're all going to die we're all going to die from something anyways. That's kind of weak thinking, I think. It's kind of weak. It's not leadership, folks. You know what leadership is? Leadership is doing something that you know is right and that you're going to guide people. I think it's the U.S. Rangers, or the infantry. The U.S. American Army's infantry motto is follow me. Follow me. So if you're a leader and you're telling it, or you're showing by example, you're not telling, you're showing by example. Maybe you're a parent and you're showing your kids to eat everything out of a can, plastic bottle, plastic bag, a jar. You're not giving them a good head start. That's not leadership. And I say parents because, that's probably where most people get their examples from. But if you're an adult, and you have friends or whatever, I don't want to preach. I don't really. Sometimes I get on my little soapbox and start talking, but it's because I really do want, especially my friends that I care about, to make some small changes. I've had friends that I didn't even realize they had heart attacks. They had heart attacks. And I believe they have had quadruple bypass or double bypass or something. And one of my friends, a gentleman, was only probably about my age now, about 54, 55. And he was in good shape. like he was a lot more muscular than I am, a lot more active than I am, but possibly he was genetically disposed, but also may have been more of a carnivore. Now, I'm not professing that eating meat was the biggest problem or the sole problem, but there have been studies that show that excess consumption of meat, especially red meat, has an effect on our cardiovascular health. Another topic that I've been reading about, remember I was talking about the microbiome and the fiber earlier, is the fact that the studies have shown that artificial sweeteners, and this is a big one, and I believe that I had effects of this early, back around about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I drank. I used to work at a place at night, and they had cases of diet soda, and I would drink probably 2 or 3 diet sodas at night, and I figured, or I thought, hey, this is, at least I'm not eating the sugar, blah blah blah. But I believe that I was unhealthier at that time. I believe that even my tests were not in range. I'm not going to go into specifics with that, but my labs were not in range. And I believe that a lot of that had to do with the overconsumption of the artificial sweeteners and the fact that I was eating more processed foods. I was eating a lot of boxed pastas and, yeah, and probably some candy too, or a lot of significant amounts of candy and not enough fiber. Okay. And so I would suggest that you read up on, actually don't even read up on it. Just stop eating. If it has a label that has more than 3 or 4 ingredients, get rid of it, folks. Just get rid of it. You don't really need it. And think about it. Why are you drinking so much of this diet soda? Do you think you're gonna lose weight drinking this stuff? Do you think it's healthy? It's not healthy, folks. If it's in a plastic bottle and you're drinking tons of it, and when I say tons of it, I mean I had a friend of mine that used to drink 6 to 8 Pepsis in a day, and we're talking about the ones that were like, I think 12 ounces or more, or 15 ounces. I forget what size. They're good size. That's a lot of crap. That is a lot of sugar and a lot of crap. I think those were regularly sweetened Pepsis at the time. This was 30 years ago, and he was fat. He was really, really fat. Okay, and he had a belly, and then he stopped and he lost a lot of weight, and he looked really good. Actually, he looked really, really good. But yeah, read up on the microbiome, the importance of eating more fiber in your diet, and stay healthy, folks. Okay, this is a long video. I know I had a lot of things to say, but that's how my mind is. I have a lot of thoughts. I know that I don't know everything. There's just no way, and there's always going to be conflicting information and stuff like that. So I try to keep the way I eat, or at least the way I would like to eat, as common sense as possible. Okay? I have a lot of work to do, folks. I think that with the help of my wife, like I said, she's a great cook. She's actually an extraordinary cook. She's really, really good. She's very talented. If we can kind of meld our thoughts together, well, one, I think, first of all, I'm gonna deviate a little bit, okay? Good health also isn't just eating healthy, but it's having good thoughts in your mind. I'm gonna bring something else up, okay? So I love talking to my wife. I really do. Sometimes I get into my little zones and, I don't talk that much. I'm more introverted than she is. But when we talk at night, if we've kind of had like a disagreement, mostly it's not a disagreement. It's just we're different people. And so we sometimes misunderstand each other or miscommunicate, or we react certain ways. But I'll tell you what, this woman gives me the chance to decompress a little bit and talk to her. And that is so important, folks. That talking is so peaceful. And remember, I was talking about stress earlier. we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. It's a continuous thing. But I believe that that reduction in stress from being in a relationship, because being in a relationship is not always easy, you know, because especially when you're in your 50s, you know, I'm going to be 55, because we have our own character, we have our own way of doing things, we have our own way of thinking, we have our own lifestyle, and we are so very different in so many ways. But I love it when we talk, and we talk peacefully to each other. We don't yell at each other. We're not aggressive to each other. We talk calmly and we listen. And I find that she listens, and that is something that is so beautiful. And that's part of being healthy also. And so I think that she gives me something healthy in one way, and I return that in another way. And I love this woman. I love her very much. I love my friends very much too. I don't always say it and I don't always show it. It's very difficult for me. But being healthy when you're healthy or you're healthier, it comes from having a good head up here. And that's my wife. And I wanted to share that because that's also important, that people know that good health isn't just not eating crappy foods or going to the gym. It's being in a mindful relationships where you can talk, you can put your boundaries up, and you love each other, and you can tell that to each other. And that's another subject, another video. But at this moment, I was just feeling a lot of love for her. All right, folks, take care of yourselves, okay?